Hey guys, I'm Amy Falconbridge, naturopath and founder at Enlightened Naturopathy. I've just been feeling to set up a series of videos in which health is explored, but holistic health, which means all aspects of health, bringing about holism. We're at a point in time where health for a lot of people is considered to just be physical well-being. It's at this very physical, very basic level of I'm not in pain, or I am in pain, or I am not physically unwell, or I am physically unwell. And there are all these physiological expressions of health that we've come to become dependent on as markers of health. And I'm not dismissing the importance of the physical self in health. It's a very vital and important part of holistic health because it's the physical representation, the physical presentation on the ground that gives us an idea of how the whole self is functioning. Is the whole self in alignment? Is the whole self experiencing health? And this is something that we'll keep coming back to and we'll keep unpacking, because for a lot of people it's a very new and it's a kind of a bit of a trippy concept to get the head around, because what I'm inviting you guys to do is to consider yourself to be more than and to exist beyond simply the physical self. And I mean, we all know that we've got feelings and we've got thoughts, but a lot of psychology and a lot of the way that the health industry is set up now is about focusing on where thoughts and how emotions express simply on a physical level. So there's a chemical imbalance or balance in the brain which triggers this hormonal release, which causes me to feel this way, which causes me to emote in this way. And it's very biological, it's very three-dimensional, it's very much about how the nervous system and the endocrine system and the gut and the blood system and everything relates with each other on a physical level. And again, that's a really important component of health, but it's just one part of it. And how the physical self, all those different organs and how they're relating with each other, again, as I said, is just a representation of what's occurring on other levels. I want you to consider that perhaps your emotions are not just the consequence or the result of some hormonal imbalance that's being triggered by the brain. Perhaps the emotions are comprised of and exist in a subtle body, much like the physical body, but outside of the physical body and not something that you can see with your physical eyes, which is interacting with and interrelating with the physical body, causing the nervous system to respond in certain ways, causing the endocrine system to trigger certain hormonal releases. Maybe the emotions are something that exist not just within and not just as the result of some physical process that's happening in the body. And the mental body as well. Perhaps the mental body expands and extends beyond the mind itself and is not just the brain running through pre-organized ideas and concepts and chain reactions, nervous chain reactions that occur on a very physical level. Perhaps the mental body is something a bit like electricity, some energy, some energetic field or energetic force that once again exists outside of the physical self but interconnects with and interrelates with the emotional body or the emotional self, the emotional aspect of the self, and the physical body itself. Perhaps what is being expressed and experienced on a physical level is the result of being impacted on and, I guess, inspired by things that are happening on a more energetic level. And perhaps there's a self even beyond just the physical, emotional, mental self, which is the the spiritual self, which exists beyond this particular body, this particular embodiment, this particular life, the part of you that is eternal, the part of you that is journeying and is growing and is exploring life and exploring development and exploring growth, transformation. And perhaps this spiritual self is also interlaced with the mental self, the emotional self, and the physical self. And perhaps there's this great energetic symbiotic dance that's happening between these bodies that then manifests as the things that you experience physically. And I'm talking about physical symptoms like pain, nausea, high blood pressure, mood swings, but your emotional experience as well, the way that you emotionally interact with and understand life, the way that you think, the way that you perceive, the way that you understand things. Perhaps it is beyond just this physical body. And this is something that scientists have been exploring for a long time. There's a lot in physics, in quantum physics, in mathematics, in all various areas that suggest that there's much more to us than what we can just see and feel and smell and hear with our physical self and on that very physical level. And I mean, we play with it all the time. We've got electricity, which is some invisible energetic force that projects energy from one place to the other and allows things to happen, sets things in motion. We're coming out with devices now that work with us on these energetic levels to alter our energetic expression, to allow us or to encourage us or trigger us to feel certain ways or to think certain ways. It's all there. There's Bluetooth, there's infrared, and all of these things are functioning on a level that is not necessarily physical. It's this etheric level. And there's more of you that exists on these etheric levels than perhaps you are aware of. And it really is my feeling and my understanding that if we're going to progress, if health on this planet is going to progress, it's going to become necessary for health practitioners and for all of humanity to begin to acknowledge that, to begin to acknowledge the self beyond the physical form, and to begin to really acknowledge the interconnectedness of these different parts of ourselves and how these different parts function. Because the way that the health system is set up now is unfortunately very much about separatism, not in all aspects. Like in naturopathy, it's very, very much promoted that you're not just a physical self. Every individual has a physical, emotional, mental, and a spiritual expression of themselves. And as naturopaths, they're very, very much encouraged to see each individual for all of those aspects and all of those parts, and to get all of those parts functioning together. And I think that that's a really important part of moving forward, of looking to the future, of integrating and becoming integrated across all of these different areas and aspects of health. Because at the moment we've got our general practitioners treating the physical body, nurses, doctors, surgeons, all so vital and so important, because that support on that physical level is so necessary, but it's just one part of it. And then we've got the psychologists who are working with people on that mental, emotional level, but more on that mental level, because there's really this idea that a lot of the things that people feel and think just simply occur at a brain level, from this lobe in the brain on this physical level. And we're seeing a movement, well, I've been seeing a movement among people to get more in touch with their emotional selves as well. People are exploring their emotions and they're learning how to be real and how to just accept everything that they're feeling on an emotional level and to just be with that and to not try to run away from that, not try to disguise that, not try to make that be anything that it's not, but just allow that to be. And that's wonderful. But again, there's parts missing because it's just looking at that thing in isolation. So a lot of these people that are exploring their emotional selves, they don't yet have the tools or the ability to do anything with those emotions. It's just feeling the emotional self and experiencing the emotional self and just allowing it to be. But how do you change that? How do you transmute that? How do you transform that? How do you move beyond that particular emotional experience and heal it and be different on the other side of that? And I'm not claiming to have all of the answers, but I've really taken it upon myself when I became excited about this concept in naturopathy, about there being a physical, emotional, mental and spiritual self, to really explore and unpack the physical self, of course, as part of my studies, but the emotional, mental and the spiritual self. I'm really working with that spiritual self and really dissecting that and coming to understand that and gaining some tools through training with the Cosmosis Academy, which is where I now teach and facilitate transmutational and transformational processes on what to do with this stuff. It's understanding this stuff, but what do you do with it? And how do you bring about a true and holistic and multidimensional sense of well-being and health? And that really feels to me like it's going to be the way of the future, which means all practitioners working together from all modalities, which means recognizing and acknowledging the strength in the psychologists, the strength in the general practitioners, the strengths in the nurses, the strengths in the naturopaths, the chiropractors, all of them, and bringing it all together. Really comprehensive and holistic understanding of humans being, which goes far beyond just the physical self and the physical body. So we'll explore different aspects of that, and we'll go deeper into different areas of and aspects of health. And I'm always speaking to you as a naturopath. I never claim to be a psychologist or to be a general practitioner. I speak to you as a naturopath and a life coach and a mentor as well. And we'll just see where that takes us. See if that opens up any new understanding for any of you, and get a bit more of an idea of what's happening for us beyond just the physical.